That's all right. Okay. Okay. So one of the serious question for you guys.
What's that?
Who thinks they have looked into the void?
I think I have. I'm Asperger's, right? So I kind of like have Asperger's. I have a highly systematized like logic brain, if you will. So I'm not super emotional, but I would say that like my misanthropy is my equivalent of looking into the abyss and becoming the abyss. Like I gained my awareness about those sort of things was my staring into the abyss. And so my new perspective is me becoming the abyss. In the words of Nietzsche, if you stare long enough, you'll become part of it.
Okay, I want to hear everybody else's take. Let me just say one thing to you, White Gamer. Are you willing to consider the possibility that there is a ways more to go from there? Like
well,
that,
I think
that is still like a disdain for choice. There are more fundamental things than that.
Yeah, I definitely say that I'm not one to say all hope is lost, right?
Okay, good.
That's what white pill ideas are, in my opinion, are the silver lining of situations like that. The things that could help redeem, like I said, the problems I talk about, anti-intellectualism, and if, like I said, people that were geniuses, we would have them have tons of children. Like it would be as simple as promoting sapiosexuality. Like there are real changes that can be made. While that probably won't happen, there are very real solutions.
Well, right, and it seems so silly, as you say, that we can't overcome just like looks, right? If women, like literally, it's men and women both looking at each other and saying, "I want you based on your looks," more or less, right? And if people were sapios more, right, we would continue to have smarter and smarter children in well-adjusted families, like family units, right? Or like some sort of like we can change that a little bit, right? Maybe society is due for a little bit more of like a communal change, and we've been blundering that terribly, right? Like maybe that was due, and we just kind of mishandled that as a species. Got to redo that, training children and like, teaching kids things. We gotta back up a step or two, maybe.
Right, definitely.
But the point that I'm trying to make here is, okay, hold on. I don't want to get too far down that road. We'll put a peg in that. We got to help the children somehow. Or, like, you guys all believe in the concept of white pill to some extent because you're still here, right? Like, you would off yourself if you had absolutely no reason to actually be here, right? So, and you figured out some portion of life that allows you guys to, like, retain your sanity in this world and still allows you to navigate through it to some extent toward maybe some goals and success, right? So keep that in mind. Good job, guys. You're one step closer to self-actualization or whatever crap they want to call it.
Well, I would say, even with my perspective of misanthropy, like, societal problems aren't the end-all, be-all to you still having a good life as an individual.
Sure. That's true.
You can still go have fun individual experiences, or with people that are close to you.
Right.
Until a certain point, if all social cohesion collapses, that's another thing. But yeah,
sure. Right. I mean, choices may become limited as more and more people stop.
That goes back to what we said. That would be environment.
Sure. Well, right. Governments have been mishandling populations since.
Well, I said government too, but I was saying that would be environmental, though. That would be, that change would be environmental.
What do you mean by environmental? And then I want to get back to
you. What I'm saying is, like I said, the white pill of you don't have to really be fully concerned with society to have a good, prosperous life, but that might change if social cohesion collapses. It might change your perspective, but that's just the environment. That's not like having an epiphany. It's not
right. Yeah, that's just noticing
like,
what's happening.
It's like your hand being forced in that situation, essentially.
Well, status quo is changing, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And then people, you say hand is forced, but some people see it differently, right? Just the point is things are changing. That's the phenomenon here. Okay, and the reality is women weren't internet goers for a long time. They were relatively late to the game as far as like being involved in what gets created on the internet, right? And online shopping became a thing, So one thing that we have to be dealing with, and what we have to keep in mind is men have been working through like porn things and like internet stuff for a lot longer than a lot of women have. Like they don't have as much background in dealing with their more base programming. So let's keep that in mind for just a minute. But I want to get back to the other guys first. Which one of you guys want to talk, James or Romy, about looking into the void? I think we have a lot of cool topics, but I want to give the other guys a chance to state their piece on that.
Yeah, I'll go first. Yeah, I mean, I can never say that I've had like the honor of becoming almost fully encapsulated with that aura per se. I've had, a lot of things that kept me active and going. I'm not sure by looking into void you mean like some sort of like profound, meditative, state of being when it comes to being existential, being fragile, being defective. Let me see here.
I think what you're saying is more indicative of who you are than anything that I thought about what I said.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's basically saying I think he looked into it, but then he just didn't really he didn't really take it to heart too much. Is what I'm kind of getting.
Oh yeah. I guess like I can add on by saying that it's like how would that be conducive to that universal narrative that I'm setting up for myself? I mean,
well,
we're wired to go through hardships. We're wired to derive gratification from overcoming those hardships. So it's like it's in the sense of it's the least you can do for yourself for at least existing.
For even existing, you should at least attempt to look into the abyss just because it's there.
I think he's saying.
As I said at first, like I'm no veteran at it, so I haven't had the by this void, I'm assuming that you're talking about the state of existential
crisis,
an existential state of being. I haven't given myself a wherewithal to be going into that. That's what I mean to say. As someone who's been absent from it, that's my perspective.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
You haven't wrestled with it yet.
I always assume my time will come. There's always
a reckoning.
There's always going to be things that are thrown at you as just the price of being part of this this story.
Oh, I see. You think it's inevitable, but you just haven't gotten there in your life yet.
Yes, I'd be willing to go as far as say that.
Interesting. Everybody will confront it. It's just a matter of time.
A matter of time, a matter of circumstance. I mean.
Oh, circumstance as well. Oh, some people never confront it.
That's something that's debatable. I mean, unless you die really young,
Suddenly, yeah.
If you're a kid and you just get eaten by by something, that you don't have that opportunity. But
Interesting. Anything else that you would like to add?
no, I think that's it.
Rami, do you have anything you want to share on the topic?
Yeah, I mean, I think I looked into the void, but then I kind of just said screw that, because like I mean, I do have like a religion in a sense to back me up though, so I don't know, like that kind of like I don't really, because for me my whole my ending thought to basically most things is at some point I'm going to like at some like or okay, how do I like my ending thought to most things is that like I just call it God. You can call it whatever you want to call it, like universal consciousness or whatever. Like I just think God will end up like I'll end up doing whatever is like kind of planned for me to do, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think I have like I think I have stared into the void actually probably like a good amount of times at this point. But then it's like more rather than like jumping into the void, I more just kind of observe it and then say, okay, like this, I came to this place again from here. And then like later, I came to this place again from here. And then like another time, I came to this place again from here. So like there's multiple different angles like to come to this place. But then, I don't necessarily like jump in or like stay there. It's more of like just an observation.
Okay. So okay. Interesting. I mean, I could. Are any of you anywhere close to despair at this point in your lives?
Well, my whole mental condition is prone to like by default anxiety and depression symptoms.
Sure.
So when I was a kid, actually I used to have panic attacks in school, but I didn't know what it was or why. And then that probably ended up making me seem very odd and out of favor, so that hurt my social relationships, and I turned to like overeating and stuff, which compounded on the issue of socialization, right? And that made me depressed. So like before I ever found like red pill and all that stuff, I was already dealing with like being depressed and that sort of thing. But that's when I started smoking, and that's like helped ever since.
Was your state of depression, anxiety brought forth from a series of hardships that you might have gone through? I mean, you could be as vague or specific as you want.
No, I have Asperger's.
I see. I understand. Yeah, you did mention that.
Which makes you more prone to anxiety and depression, like just literally from brain chemistry. And maybe not for everyone, it's subjective, right? Like how much you're on the spectrum or whatever, how affected you are personally, or how like cannabis makes you feel. But like if I had to say like a medicine for it, like weed pretty much does the trick.
Yeah. I was going to say, how early did you start using?
Like 17 and a half.
And do you think that altered your brain chemistry? Like, do you think that impaired you in any way? Or enhanced it?
Probably made me. I do think it probably knocked my total IQ down maybe 3 to 5 points.
Okay.
But I'm like naturally without being boastful, like naturally high IQ anyways, right?
Well, Asperger's generally.
Usually if you're more functional, you tend to be higher IQ. Like I said, systems type thinking, systems orientation thinking.
Yes,
and
true.
More logic brain. So like, I'm like, yeah, I do feel a little dumber. Like, not gonna lie, sometimes I do have a slight bit more trouble like spelling words that maybe I didn't in the past, but like that's really it.
Oh shit, he muted himself.
Maybe I just went quiet.
Yeah, I wasn't looking at the screen and I realized he muted himself.
One second. I want to hear that thought, but I have a real one. About 30 seconds and I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Honestly, staring into the void, like I think like James was saying earlier, unless you die early, then maybe you don't get that experience. But I think almost any person, especially like a young male, like maybe for women, I mean, I don't know this because I'm not a woman, obviously. Like it might happen for them later in life, or maybe it happens earlier. I don't know. But I think for like a young man, I think it happens like pretty, for us, I think it's, like in your teens or 20s, I think that's when you probably have your first like staring into the void kind of
Existential confrontation.
yeah
with something else.
yeah